Running Sentences presents The Lost Writer and His Tale, Part 6, Breaking In. There is no way out of this situation for Victor, as much as he hopes and prays that everyone will just leave him alone. On the bright side, he starts believing it would make a great story, not that anyone would believe as fiction or as truth. This story is written and narrated by Michael Hunnery. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and/or fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on is purely coincidental. Copyright 2025, Michael Hunnery, all rights reserved. The guards took him out behind the back of Stephen's bar where the loading area was. The bouncer normally found here during the working hour, during these hours, was elsewhere, as Riley led them directly towards a nice-looking limo vehicle that was parked back there, that had a driver who was doing their best to keep dirt away from the vehicle. "Driver, we're headed home, okay?" "Yes, ma'am, right away." "I thought I said no more of that ma'am stuff." "Apologies. Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe, Mr. Victor. Then we can decide what to do next." "That you could easily do without me?" "You'd think that, but I think I might need you for a dangerous assignment that has suddenly come up." He didn't like the sound of that, but being forced into the back of the car, he didn't really have much to say about it or time to complain. A silent car ride brought him and Riley into an underground parking lot. It was well lit here, but that gave Victor no confidence whatsoever, as he was then dragged out of the vehicle by the guards. He was pushed along towards a bank of elevators, with a click of Riley's heels following them. Why is this happening to me? Well, you've proven useful, so I'm going to use you. To do what, Riley? I'm not talking about that out here, in the open. Thank you. You're not really talking at all. Yes, I am. Once we're safe, we can talk, and I can call you a little friend. An alarm bell went off in Victor's mind. He really didn't have friends, and he was sure that most people at best considered him an acquaintance, or nothing really more. So who was this supposed friend? No, I don't understand. Yes, I know, you don't understand much and claim to be stupid to much of the world. Well, that's come back to bite you, and now you need to shut up for a few more minutes. The elevators were before them as one of the guards stepped forward to call it. When it arrived, it had a familiar look to it, but Victor wasn't entirely sure as the whole group got aboard. They stepped out into a hallway and instantly went over towards a door. Now, Victor realized this place felt all that more familiar to him as Riley's place, that strange apartment building of a place. When they stepped inside her apartment, it fell in place and he had to shake his head. She said they were headed home, and now his mind was catching up. Sometimes he really felt like an imagination was a curse that didn't pick up on things. The living room was much as he'd last seen it, nice and expensive looking, so he didn't want to touch one thing for fear of breaking it. And we're finally free. You think because you're in your apartment, someone hasn't planted a listening device? You seem to be all paranoid about people listening. So she merely grinned at him and strolled over towards the couch, landing on it with a thump. With a wave of her hands, the guards vanished. This place is regularly looked over to make sure I have my privacy. I don't like people listening in on what I do. Congratulations. So who's this friend that I have that's supposed to be joining us? The young woman, Lucy, right? I don't know why you're asking me if that's right. I'm asking you if that's her name. Yes, it is. She works at the bar. You've been around. How can you not know her? I don't get involved that much in the place. It is mostly my father who does that sort of thing. What sort of thing? The words sprang from his mouth before he thought them out. It was a good question, and a weird one to be asking. And there was also the fear of knowing too much about this situation that sprang to his mind. But it seemed to be too late. You don't need to know. As for Lucy, well, you said she's worried about Stephen. Explain that. Well, she wanted me to sneak into his house and search for anything wrong. Not that I could remotely know what I'm supposed to be looking for. I see. Yes, that will do greatly. You should do that. No, I should not, because I'm not a thief and I don't know how to break into places. Why would you even suggest that? Your guards would probably be better at it than me. Have one of them go. Victor offered as an alternative. Oh, one will be making sure you go and don't run off. The challenge will be getting you in there, and I'm sure someone with your imagination can get by. What does that mean? Victor asked, hoping for a good answer. What? You don't think I haven't looked you up to figure out who you are? An author with a few papers here and there, as well as stories, all in your name. So easy it was to find anything out about you. Okay, fine. Little stories led you to me. So what? You have nothing on me that will make me go do this job. Oh no, I have lots that will make you break into the home of your former employer now, Riley said with a rather large smirk. Like what? Your family. Victor felt his body go cold at that mention. It was something best left in the past, yet somehow not entirely possible to do. He glared at her and tried to figure out what she knew from her smug expression on her face. Since she was well connected, there was probably a lot she could figure out, or guess from whatever information she gathered on or her father's minions had done. Blackmail. You're blackmailing me. Nothing so dirty, no, simply the facts about them and what they're up to. I don't associate with them anymore, and they don't deal with me. It's a clean break between the two sides, so whatever you're trying to do or drag me into won't work. They are a part of my past, long gone. Are they really? Yes. Well, they've been trying to find you. I have no idea why they'd want to do that, Miss Riley. Something about money owed, I believe. She let the words linger in the air, meeting his eyes, and he began to worry. He had nothing to do with any stolen money or anything like that. So what was his family up to? A knock on the door broke the tension and allowed him to escape the worry of those thoughts. I believe that would be Lucy. Let her in, Mr. Victor. A moment later, Lucy, looking tired and worn out, was standing next to Victor. She was taking in the sights with a shake of her head. You wanted me? Your friend has said you wanted him to break into the home of your boss. Lucy looked at Victor, surprised, an arched eyebrow, but then back to Riley. Yes, well, sort of. I'd get him in so he could look. Why? She suspects that Stephen is up to something bad and wants it stopped so that the bar doesn't become somebody else's, or she doesn't lose her job or something. Yes, as Victor points out, it needs to be stopped if we're going to save this operation. Did our friend Bard see what he needed to see? The interruption by Riley was surprising. Yes, he saw the basements and its barrels of alcohol. It couldn't possibly be used for a money-making facility, Miss Riley. What is going on here? Excellent. Then our next big problem is Stephen himself, if he gets involved with criminals. A whole lot of you are criminals as far as I'm concerned. Victor, be nice. All that has happened to you is your own fault. He glares over at Lucy for saying this, and takes a few steps away from her. The need to get out of here and somewhere safe was overwhelming, but any glance around here told him it would not be an easy thing to accomplish. His glance also fell towards the windows, looking out to the town below, and the trickle of thoughts that he could just run at those windows and end all of this. But it was only a thought, and a rather sickening one at that. I will not be nice, Lucy. I've been treated like shit and all that crap. And now this, even though I've said no 1,000,000 times. Victor, you don't get a say in this. Yes, I do, Riley. You can't force me. Your family, though, Riley explained. Fuck them and fuck you for trying to bring them into this. If someone told you they're a part of my life and can be used to make me do work or things, they are wrong. What is this about family? Riley, what is going on? Lucy, we're merely trying to make the man sweat and work for us. He thinks he's safe from his old family connections when he isn't safe. What kind of family do you have, Victor? It was a good question, and one that Victor would rather stay dead and forgotten about. No luck on that actually happening, apparently, but it's still he wished for it time and time again in this moment. None, a former family that I no longer talk to or know. But that family wishes to change that, Riley added. Lucy was looking worriedly at Victor. What is so wrong with them, Victor? Everything, Lucy. They're a bunch of crooks who want money and nothing more. I think they want their son back now. Riley, you are not in fact helping with those suggestions or even attempts to blackmail me into doing things. I won't do things simply because you're bringing my family into it. Well, how big is your family? I only ask because you seem to be rather good at saying your family, so I guess it's a lot. Victor sneered at the thought of answering that question from Lucy and shook his head no. 7, officially, though there may be more of them, Riley answered for him. And they want money, Victor? Riley? What's the answer to that? From what I gather, Mr. Victor over there owes them a good deal of money, Lucy. I do not. They owe me nothing, I owe them nothing. This is nothing more than a scheme to wrap me up in a scheme of theirs. Oh, schemes, is it? Do you prefer being wrapped up in theirs or mine? Neither, if I have a choice, Riley. Well, it is one or the other, Victor. Now's the time to choose where you stand in the world, with criminals or against them. He looks wildly at Riley, trying to decide if she'd gone mad or not. The comment she'd made certainly tended towards madness, since she wanted him to do criminal stuff as well. Or maybe she meant his family was now on the good side of things. That seemed really unlikely, though. While Victor thinks that through, Lucy, could you explain what you wanted him to do at your boss's house? Lucy gave a short, crisp nod, yes, and then stepped forward, a bit away from Victor. He didn't blame her, since he wanted to throw his arms here and there in frustration, and he might accidentally hit somebody. So, better to be safe. Getting into the house is no problem. It's finding where he keeps his secret stuff. I know he has some sort of secret files that he brings home every night. These are... Riley questioned, but when Lucy provided no further explanation, she went on. You're not sure what they are, but they are suspicious, Lucy? Exactly. Every time I look at the computer at the bar, there's stuff missing to keep track of everything we do, like the party the other night. A cold thought struck Victor upon hearing that. I hate to say this, but if those private detectives were lying... Yes, we know they were lying about something, but what do you mean, Victor? They told us they were looking for false money, but what if they just wanted to get inside to look for something else? Well, that's quite a leap of faith they're making, Victor, thinking that lying about money will get them to see the inner workings of a bar over what? It might not be what they're doing, Lucy, but there is a chance that it is. It doesn't make sense when there is no other proof other than the fake money I got for working the event the other night."
"Fake money?" Riley questioned.
"Yeah, when I was paid for working the party you attended at the bar, Riley, Steven handed me an envelope, under the table deal for my pay that was filled with fake cash. I saw that some of it looked and felt fake, but I still tried to pay some of my owed debts with it." "Lucy, care to explain that?" "That I know nothing about, Riley. If Steven is running an operation to print money, it isn't at the bar." Riley nodded, accepting this, but then turned on them with a vicious-looking glint in her eyes. It was mostly directed right at Victor, making him feel conscious that something bad might be happening to him, all because he'd said a few words. It really was like a bad story that might never end, and all he could do was wonder how he'd even remotely gotten involved in any of this.
"This is all the more reason for you to break into Steven's house tomorrow. I would say tonight, but we need a full rundown on the place from Lucy, and timing on how to get there and in. So, this is going to happen, Victor."
"And if I say no?"
"Then your family finds out that you've been passing fake money around."
A curse of words came to Victor's lips, but he didn't let a single one out. He wanted to, but it would probably only signal to Riley that she'd won, and then they would crow about it. Lucy then broke in.
"Victor, if you do this, I will never bother you again. You can go back to writing your stories and pretending the world doesn't exist."
"Oh, what a sweet promise. I will not make the same one, but you will be left alone for a while." "How long would I be under your thumb, Riley?"
"As long as I need someone of your skills, probably a while."
"My skills are writing, not breaking and entering. I still don't get why you want me, Riley, when your guards are much better at this sort of thing."
"For a writer not to make the easy connections that I don't want a strong connection to me? Well, this is disappointing. Are you sure you have an imagination in there?"
"I'm sorry, I'm not able to think 12 steps ahead like the rest of you."
"But will you do it, Victor?"
"Of course not, Lucy. Why would I put myself in danger?"
"Oh, to stay out of trouble. Or we could do this the hard way and you wake up in his house,"
Riley offered.
"No to either of those options."
Victor heard a footstep behind him and turned to see one of the guards there. There was a gentle but painful prick that hit the back of his neck right as he turned, and things went wonky on him. He tried to open his mouth, but no words came out, and since everything felt like it was moving, he closed his eyes to hopefully make it all just stop. With a groan, Victor came back to life. All he was aware of was the slightly warm yet damp rock-like substance under him. He guessed it was that as things began to sort themselves out in his mind. It took him only a moment of guessing to figure out where he was and to open his eyes. A lit garage with no cars greeted him when he looked. The pulse of pain from the back of his neck kept pinging as he moved about to look around and get up. It was certainly a home garage and probably belonged to Steven if he had to guess. Something in his ear crackled to life, sending him sprawling as he tried to get away from it. "Are you awake yet?" "Ow, and yes, and is this Riley?" "Good, get your bearings and get moving, and yes." No, I'm leaving." "No, you can't do that, Victor. The cops are watching this place like a hawk, so any move you will make will be picked up on." A cold sensation of fear ran down Victor as he got up to stand. How had they gotten him in here if that was the case? And also, why were the cops watching this place, and shouldn't they be able to listen in on whatever was going on in here? Also, where was the mic allowing him to talk? Was it on the receiver that was in his ear? Could he take off this receiver? There's a lot of questions going on in his mind, but he decided to concentrate on one thing. "You're lying, Riley."
I am not, but you're free to risk it if you wish. Uh-huh. And why would I believe any of that? You and everyone else has been lying to me forever. What makes this believable? Your choice, your life, but it won't end well if you do just walk out. Cops around here don't bother clarifying things. They shoot first. Is this neighborhood that bad? No, it's actually a rather nice one. Just anything out of place gets a bullet first and questions later from the cops, if you survive the hail of bullets. So I'm in a rock and a hard place between you and cops. Great. Yes, it actually works out well for me, for once. Now quit bitching and start working. Doing what, Riley? We believe the basement is where you'll find the goods. Goods? What? The evidence we're looking for that Stephen is up to something. The basement is the best direction you can give. We don't know much more than that. Sorry. We do have some vague clues to go on that will direct us someplace. Is that Lucy? Yes, I'm here to help guide you through this as well. Great. 2 women in my ears, whispering nothing important and using me as they wish. Well, most men and some women would kill for such a thing. Riley, not me. Can we concentrate on the house, please, you two? It will make things go quicker. Lucy interrupted. The door from the garage into the house is unlocked, right, Lucy? Maybe? The welling of a sigh hit Victor's chest, though he tried to hold it in as best he could. It wouldn't help, and they would probably just yell at him. Let me try the door to get into the house. That's the one on the right, right? Yes, that's the one right there that will go into the house. On the other side of that is a short hallway that leads to the kitchen. Great. The kitchen usually leads to a basement, so this will be quick. Then how are we going to get me out of here? We will figure that out as we go. And the basement door isn't in the kitchen. Sorry, Victor. Where is it then, Lucy? You can't piecemeal feed me information on all of this. It'll only make me worry that I'm going the wrong way. Try and stay off of the connection, please. We don't want the cops to suspect that something is up and hearing too much radio talk. Only the most needed of words should pass between you two. Victor cursed under his breath at Riley for putting these weird restrictions on him, then figured it was better to get all of this done and over with. He hurried to the door. It was not locked, thankfully, and he pushed it open gently, hoping it wouldn't squeak or cause any other noise. It didn't, and he came into a small hallway that went straight towards the kitchen, that he could see just beyond this. There was another door to the left that led somewhere, but it obviously wasn't going to the basement, or so he'd been told. Victor groped his way along, keeping his hands against the wall to feel for dark space with the only light he had being a moonlight coming in from the kitchen area. The area he entered, this kitchen, was a bit brighter and easier to see in, a clean space that was well set out and spacious to move around. There was the floor-to-ceiling windows that made up part of the wall and let him see out into the pitch darkness of the backyard beyond. There were only 2 other openings in this wall, and the windows did not have a doorway into them, so one led to another hallway and the other to a sort of room. This is the kitchen. What now, Lucy? There is a space to another room? 2 of them. There's a hallway and a different room, Victor replied. I will remind you, too, that messages cannot keep happening if you want this to succeed. Shut up, Riley. If I don't get any information, then I won't know where to go or what to do. If you're so worried about this, come in here and do it yourself. A flash of light suddenly cut across the back lawn, a flashlight of some sort that caught Victor's attention. He hurriedly ducked behind an island of cabinets that were in the middle of the kitchen, trying to stay away from being seen. You need to go to the one that has a room, not the hallway. There will be another doorway in there. It will lead you down to the first basement, I believe, and you need to find what appears to be a second basement down there. Great, I'm going to set off to find that then. He peeks around the island to see the figure moving across the lawn outside. Occasionally a flashlight cuts towards the house and then flashes into the kitchen, but he ducks away when it does. After a minute, there was no longer those flashes across this place, and he looks again to make sure that whoever it was gone. Okay, take this nice and easy, and I hope and pray to God that I'm not being taken advantage of. With that said to himself, he began moving towards the opening that led to a room. This room was in fact a pantry space, filled with food goods that were all stacked neatly into their spaces. This along with some fine-looking plates and other odds and ends. His glance about the place, though, showed him no other doorway to be seen. Victor frowned and wondered how much he would get yelled at if he asked the question to Lucy or even Riley. Probably a lot if he didn't try things for himself first, and preserving his ears seemed like a good idea. Okay, where would one hide a door around here? He went to some of the shelves that stood out from the wall and brushed his hand against it. The search for anything off or wrong taking up all of his attention. So far in the move to the right-hand side of the room, there was nothing out of the ordinary. He had to pause for a moment and orient himself when a thought struck him that this wall was against the kitchen space of all things, and those walls didn't look particularly thick coming into this room. Idiot. Okay, this wall's to the kitchen, and that one is to the outside. Hopefully one of these other two might offer something. Victor, with somewhat challenged and faulty steps, moved to the wall at the back of the room. It only took a moment to see what appeared to be a thin but visible seam in that wall, and his hands reached past the plates here and pressed against that wall, which made it click and then swing open towards him. Success! I'm headed down to the basement, you two. He'd taken a grand total of a few steps down the staircase, leading down before the reply came. Great, be careful. Lucy's voice cut out from his ear, and his hand went to the little receiver that had been stuck in it. He kind of wanted to take it out, but he decided to leave it in. A few finger taps at it by Victor did nothing, and he then pulled it out to look at it. It was a standard-looking earphone piece, nothing out of the ordinary about it. He stuck it back in. Hello? He wasn't exactly sure what he was expecting, but getting nothing back to his hello didn't surprise him. Though he also waited a few more moments to make sure there wasn't going to be a response. With a sigh, he looked down to the dark stairs and wondered if it would be okay to turn on the lights or if that would give him away. His hands reached back to search for a light switch, but he gave up on that after a few seconds of finding nothing. It was dark down in this basement with no flashlight, and it was close to impossible to see. What vision he could get merely allowed the edges of things that weren't all that close to him. What the fuck am I supposed to be doing here? He whispered the question to himself just to be on the safe side. In the end, with no great solution or ability to see things coming to him, he went back towards the stairs and found the light switch that he'd lost. The dim lights flickered on, and he went back down and see a finished-looking workspace. Though one that didn't look like it saw a lot of use. Victor moved around towards a computer he saw that did appear to be on, at least according to the flashing lights that gave that impression. Okay, what do you have for me, computer? He came to life slowly as he touched the keyboard, and he also made sure to get a good look around the place to get a feel for it. It was an office area divided by the staircase in the middle of this basement area, and there looked to be a bar on the other side. He wondered if he should check that out as well, though reminded himself he was supposed to look for a door to a further basement, or something else. At first glance, though, there was nothing to give him an inclination that there was anything like that. Hello, Stephen.
The sudden voice from the computer surprised Victor. The thing had woken up and looked like it was on a supposed login screen. Hello?
You do not sound like Stephen.
The sound was definitely coming from the computer speakers. I have a bad cold?
That is not an acceptable answer. If you do not provide an appropriate response, I will shut down and delete all files.
Victor was quite taken back by this and hoped it was merely a threat and it wasn't actually going to follow through on it. A dead man's switch, though? What exactly was here? Stephen's bar is the best place in the world? He hoped that was something that Stephen would say, or maybe it was and maybe it wasn't, to his computer. Since the man tended to be obnoxious, slightly like that, there was a chance it wasn't, and all that was for naught.
Again, that is not the response I am seeking.
What response do you want, computer?
I need to know what you're up to.
Searching files. The answer was out of his mouth before he had much time to think, and he cringed to himself as a result. Nothing on the computer screen changed there, so there was neither a win nor a loss.
Is that all you have to offer? The computer asked.
Yes, and open up the sub-basement.
Very well, I've informed the police that there is an intruder in the house. Please remain where you are.
That isn't deleting your files and turning off, and that isn't what I wanted at all. The computer then turned the screen off and it went all blank. Victor swore to himself and began looking around again. There was the other side of this basement, or standing around as the computer said. The desk was empty from what he saw, and a quick rummage through that showed no signs of any loose papers. Think, Victor, think. Where would I hide a door to a basement or files? There's no filing cabinet or... So where would they go aside from the computer? He hurries towards the other side of the basement, listening for any sounds or noises from above. Nothing was coming from up there yet, but that didn't mean much. He knew all too well. It took only a few seconds to find himself in a bar-like setup that had plenty of gaming options, from a pool table to a dartboard. It was nice, unlike this man's own establishment bar, which was a dingy place. What around here could be a door further down? The room was well lit, but none of it looked like it could be a secret passageway. Worried about being caught, Victor then ran along the wall all the way around to get a closer look. There was nothing that stood out about this place that made him think that there was any doorways. Nothing? Really? How is there not some great secret that will get me to safety? A crackling came from his earpiece, so he reached for it. Hello, Lucy, Riley? No response came through, frustrating him. The only way to talk to them might be to go back upstairs, but if the police really were coming? For the moment, Victor was torn on what to do, swaying back and forth as he tried to come to some sort of decision that would get him out of this mess. He headed for the stairs, hoping if he got close enough to the door, it would allow him to talk to them. But the first step on those stairs tripped him. His foot clicked against the bottom of the stair. He was surprised he didn't manage to fall onto them, but managed to hold his balance as the stairs began to sweep upwards. He paused only for a moment, deciding he was better off going down than staying up here. Victor took a look at the dark space that was below that had revealed itself, and instantly began feeling for a light switch along the stairways down. His hand found it, and lights flickered on, revealing a room filled with what looked to be filing cabinets. Okay, so what is supposed to be down here? Making his way quickly down, he found a dungy and slightly smelly place that was sort of oddly comforting. It was like an old bookstore, but had gone a bit musty. But that's kind of exactly how you wanted it to be. Okay, this cabinet says English files? What's that supposed to mean? He pulled on it to try and get it open, but the drawer clicked when he pulled at it. Victor found his gaze looking all over these to see if they all had locking mechanisms on it, and from what he could see, that was exactly the case. I'm no lockpicker, and I couldn't even know where to start. No, best just to see what these weird names are. Before he took another step, though, he stopped and listened for any other noise. It was all quiet, so if the computer really had called the cops, they hadn't figured out a way down to the basement yet. With a sigh, he began cruising past these cabinets, taking in a few names along the way. France, Ottoman Empire, foreign money? He stops, having circled the entire room, looking at all these that this place had to offer. Victor was back at the stairs, listening and thinking about all that was happening. There wasn't much going on, which kept him stuck in this spot. Half fear, half hope that something come to him if he just took that moment to look and think. His imagination was pretty good, so it should be able to come up with something wild and wacky that would at least be partially true. The problem was nothing was coming to his mind as he stared blankly ahead of himself. The most suspicious and least suspicious one is the money filing cabinet. It's too obvious. So, what do I do when I have to get an answer? He said out loud. There were some heavy noises from above, a clump of what sounded like footsteps. The stairs from above had clicked back into place. If anyone is down in the basement, you should turn yourself over at once. This is the police. Surrender peacefully or we will shoot. There was a heavy sound of thuds from many footsteps headed down the stairs above him, leaving Victor to merely stare up. How long would it take them to discover the stairs to the second basement? Could he hide? Where could he hide? This room is clear except for the computer, sir. No sign of an intruder. Keep looking. There's something weird about this house. We were told to keep an eye on it. Panic and fear crept up Victor's backside as he inched away from the stairs. The least he could do was try and find a spot to hide. End of part 6 of The Lost Rider and His Tale. Thank you for listening.